The Book of Amos. Amos, Chapter 1. The words of Amos, who was among the herdsmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Yasharal, in the days of Uzziah, sovereign of Yehudah, in the Yomim of Jeroboam, son of Yosh, sovereign of Yasharal, 2 years before the earthquake. And he said, Yahuwah roars from Zion, and gives forth his voice from Jerusalem, and the pastures of the shepherds shall mourn, and the top of Carmel shall wither. Thus said Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of Damasach, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they threshed Gilead with threshing implements of iron. But I shall send fire upon the house of Kaza'al, and it shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad, and I shall break the bars of Damasach, and cut off the inhabitant from the valley of On, and the one who holds the scepter from Beit Eden, and in the people of Aram shall go exile to Kir, said Yahuwah. Thus said Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of Azah, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they took it into exile, an entire exile, to surrender it to Edom. But I shall send fire upon the wall of Azah, and it shall consume its palaces, and I shall cut off the inhabitants from Ashdod, and the one who holds the scepter from Ashkelon, and I shall turn my hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines shall perish, said Master Yahuwah. Thus said Master Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of Zur, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they surrendered an entire exile to Edom, and did not remember the brotherly covenant. But I shall send fire upon the wall of Zur, and it shall consume its palaces. Thus said Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because he pursued his brother with the sword, and cast off all compassion, and his displeasure tore increasingly, and he kept his wrath forever. But I shall send fire upon Teman, and it shall consume the palaces of Batsarah. Thus said Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of the children of Ammon, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because they ripped open the pregnant women in Gilead to enlarge their border. So I shall kindle a fire upon the wall of Rabbah, and it shall consume its palaces with a shout in the day of battle, with a storm in the day of whirlwind. And their sovereign shall go into exile, and he his heads together, said Yahuwah. Amos, Chapter 2. Thus said Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of Moab, and for 4 I do not turn it back, because he burned the bones of the sovereign of Edom to lime. But I shall send fire upon Moab, and it shall consume the palaces of Kerioth, and Moab shall die amid uproar, with a cry and with the sound of a ram's horn. And I shall cut off the judge from its midst, and slay its heads with him, said Yahuwah. Thus said Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of Yehuda, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they have rejected the Torah of Yahuwah, and did not guard his laws, and their lies, after which their fathers walked, led them astray. But I shall send fire upon Yehuda, and it shall consume the palaces of Yerushalayim. Thus said Yahuwah, for 3 transgressions of Yashral, and for 4, I do not turn it back, because they sell the righteous for silver, and the poor for a pair of sandals, who crush the head of the poor, ones in the dust of the earth, and turn aside the way of the meek. And a man and his father go into the same girl to defile my Kadush name. And they lie down by every altar on garments taken in pledge. And in the house of their mighty one they drink the wine of those who have been fined. Yet I destroyed the Amorites before them, whose height was like a height of the cedars, and he was as strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above, his roots from beneath. And I brought you up from the land of Mitzrayim, and led you 40 years through the wilderness, and to possess the land of the Amorite. And I raised up some of your sons as prophets, and some of your young men as Nazirs, not so? O you children of Yashral, declares Yahuwah. But you made the Nazirs drink wine, and commanded the Nabis, saying, do not prophesy. See, I am weighed down by you, as a wagon is weighed down when filled with sheaves. And a place to flee shall perish from the swift, and the strong not strengthen his power, and the mighty not save his life. And he who handles the bow not stand, and the swift of foot not save, nor he who rides a horse save his life. And the bravest among the mighty flee naked in that day, declares Yahuwah. Amos chapter 3. Hear this word that Yahuwah has spoken against you, O children of Yashral, against the entire clan which I brought up from the land of Mitzrayim, saying, you alone have I known of all clans of the earth. Therefore I punish you for all your crookedness. Would 2 walk together without having agreed? Does a lion roar in the forest when he has no prey? Does a young lion give forth his voice out of his den unless he has captured? Does a bird fall into a snare on the earth where there is no trap for it? Does a snare bring up from the earth if it has not captured prey? If a ram's horn is blown in a city, do the people not tremble? If there is calamity in a city, shall not Yahuwah have done it? For the Master Yahuwah does no matter unless he reveals his secret to his servants, the Nabis. A lion has roared, who is not afraid? The Master Yahuwah has spoken. Who would not prophesy? Cry out at the palaces of Ashdod, and at the palaces in the land of Mitzrayim, and say, gather on the mountains of Shamarun, and see the many unrests in her midst, and the oppressed ones within her. But they do not know to do what is right, declares Yahuwah. These who stone up plunder and loot in their palaces. Therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, an enemy even all around the land, and he shall bring down your strength from you, and your palaces shall be plundered. Thus said Yahuwah, as a shepherd rescues from the mouth of a lion 2 legs or a piece of ear, so are the children of Yashar'al who dwell in Shamarun to be rescued. In the corner of the bed, in the edge of the couch, hear and witness against the house of Ya'qub, declares the Master Yahuwah, the Elohim of Savaoth. For in the day I visit Yashar'al for their transgressions, I shall also punish concerning the altars of Bethal, and the horns of the altar shall be broken, and they shall fall to the ground, and I shall smite the winter house along with summer house, and the houses of ivory shall perish, and the great houses shall be swept away, declares Yahuwah. Amos, chapter 4. Hear this word, you cows of Bashan, who are on the mountains of Shamarun, who are oppressing the poor, who are crushing the needy, who are saying to the masters, bring wine, let us drink. The Master Yahuwah has sworn by his kadushness. See, days are coming upon you when he shall take you away with hooks, and your descendants with fish hooks, and let you go out at the breakers, each woman before her, and you shall be cast out toward Harmon, declares Yahuwah. Come to Bethel and transgress to Gilgal, increase transgression, and bring your slaughterings every morning, your tithes every 3 days, and burn an offering of thanksgiving with leaven. Proclaim voluntary offerings loudly, for you have loved this, you children of Yashar'al, declares the Master Yahuwah. And I also give you cleanness of teeth in all your cities, and lack of bread in all your places. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahuwah. And I also withheld rain from you 3 months before the harvest. Then I would send rain on one city, and another city I would not send rain. One part was rained upon, and where it did not rain, the part would dry up. Then 2 or 3 cities would wander to another city and drink water, but they were not satisfied. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahuwah. I have smitten you with blight and with mildew. The creeping locust devoured your many gardens, and your vineyards, and your fig trees, and your olive trees. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahuwah. I have sent among you a plague in the way of Mitzrayim. I have slain your young men with a sword, along with your captured horses, and I have made the stench of your camp come up into your nostrils. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahuwah. I have overthrown some of you, as Elohim overthrew Sodom and Amorah, and you were like a burning stick plucked from the burning. But you did not turn back to me, declares Yahuwah. Therefore I am doing this to you, Yashar'al, and because I do this to you, prepare to meet your Elohim, Yashar'al. For look, he who forms mountains and creates the wind, and who declares to the man what his thought is, and makes the morning darkness, and who treads the high places of the earth, Yahuwah Elohim Savaoth is his name. Amos chapter 5. Hear this word which I take up against you, this lamentation, house of Yasharal. The maiden of Yasharal has fallen, not to rise again. She lies forsaken on her land, with no one to lift her up. For thus said the Master Yahuwah, the city that goes out by 1,000 has 100 left, and that which goes out by 100 has 10 left to the house of Yasharal. For thus said Yahuwah to the house of Yasharal, seek me and live, but do not seek Bethel, nor enter Gilgal, nor pass over Beersheba. For Gilgal shall certainly go into exile, and Bethel become a wasteland. Seek Yahuwah and live, lest he break out like fire upon the house of Yusuf, and shall consume it, with no one to quench it in Bethel. You who are turning right ruling to wormwood, and have cast down righteousness to the earth. He who made Kima and Kezel, and who turns the shadow of death into morning and darkness day into night, who is calling for the water of the sea and pours them out on the face of the earth. Yahuwah is his name, who is flashing forth destruction upon the strong, so that destruction comes upon the stronghold. They hated the one who reproves in the gate, and they despise the one who speaks the truth. Therefore, because you trample on the poor and take grain taxes from him, you have built houses of hewn stone, but you are not going to dwell in them. You have planted pleasant vineyards, but not drink wine for them. For I know your transgressions are many, and your sins are great, afflicting the righteous and accepting bribes, and the turning aside the poor at the gate. Therefore the wise keep silent at that time, for it is an all evil time. Seek good, not evil, so that you live, and let Yahuwah Elohim Savaoth be with you, as you have spoken. Hate evil and love good, and set up right ruling. In the gate, it might be that Yahuwah Elohim Savaoth shows favor to the remnant of Yahusif. Therefore, Yahuwah Elohim Savaoth, Yahuwah said this: there is wailing in all open squares, and in all streets they say, alas, alas, and shall call the farmer to mourning, and skilled lamenters to wailing. And in all vineyards there is wailing, for I pass through your midst, said Yahuwah. Woe to you who are longing for the day of Yahuwah. What does the day of Yahuwah mean to you? It is darkness and not light, as when a man flees from a lion, and a bear shall not meet him, or entered his house, rested his head on the wall, and a serpent shall bite him. Is not the day of Yahuwah darkness and not light? Is it not very dark, with no brightness in it? I have hated, I have despised your festivals, and I am not pleased with your assemblies. Though you offer me burnt offerings and your grain offerings, I do not accept them, nor do I look on your fattened shalom offerings. Take away from me the noise of your songs, for I do not hear the sound of your stringed instruments, and let right ruling roll on like water, and righteousness like a mighty stream. You brought me slaughterings and meal offerings in the wilderness for 40 years, house of Yashraal. But you took up Succoth, your sovereign, and Kiun, your idols, your astral mighty ones, which you made for yourselves. Therefore I shall send you into exile beyond Damascus, said Yahuwah Elohim Savaoth, his name. Amos chapter 6. Woe to those at ease in Zion, and those trusting in Mount Shamarun, the distinguished ones among the chief of the nations, to whom the house of Yashraal comes. Pass over to Kalna and see, and from there go to Hamath the Great. Then go down to Gath of the Philistine. Are you better than these reigns? Or is their border greater than your border? You who are putting off the day of evil, yet bring near the seat of violence, who are lying on the beds of ivory, and are stretched out on your couches, and are eating lambs from the flock and calves from the midst of the stall, who are singing to the sound of the harp, having composed songs for themselves like Dawood, who are drinking wine from bowls, and anoint with the finest ointments. Yet these have not been pained over the breach of Yahusha. Therefore they shall now go into exile with the first of the exiles, and the feasting of the stretched out ones shall cease. The Master Yahuwah has sworn by himself. Yahuwah Elohim Savaoth declares, I am loathing the pride of Yaakov, and I have hated his palaces. Therefore I shall deliver up the city of all that is in it. And it shall be that if 10 men remain in one house, they shall die. And if a relative of his undertaker brings the remains out of the house, he shall say to one inside the house, Is anyone with you? And he says, No. Then he shall say, Hush, for we have not remembered the name of Yahuwah. For look, Yahuwah is commanding, and he shall smite the great house to pieces, and the little house to bits. Do horses run on a rock? Does one plow it with oxen? For you have turned right ruling into poison, and the fruit of righteousness into wormwood. You who are rejoicing over a matter of nothing, who say, Have we not taken power for ourselves by our own strength? For look, I am raising up a nation against you, O house of Yashraal, declares Yahuwah Elohim Savaoth, and they shall oppress you from the entrance of Hamath to the Wadi Arabah. Amos chapter 7. This is what the Master Yahuwah showed me, and see, he was forming locust swarms at the beginning of the late crop. And see, it was the late crop after the mowings of the sovereign. And it came to be, when they had finished eating the grass of the land, that I said, Master Yahuwah, forgive, I pray, How does Yaakub survive? For he is small. Yahuwah relented concerning this. It shall not be, said Yahuwah. This is what the Master Yahuwah showed me. And see, the Master Yahuwah was calling to contend by fire. And it consumed the great deep, and did consume the portion. And I said, O Master Yahuwah, please stop. How does Yaakub survive? For he is small. Yahuwah relented concerning this. This shall not be either, said the Master Yahuwah. This is what he showed me. And see, Yahuwah stood on a wall, and been made with a plumb line in his hand. And Yahuwah said to me, Amos, what do you see? And I said, a plumb line. And Yahuwah said, see, I am setting a plumb line in the midst of my people, Yasharal. No longer do I pardon them, and the high places of Ishak shall be laid waste, and the Kadush places of Yasharal shall be destroyed. And I shall rise with the sword against the house of Yerubba'al. Then Amatsah, the priest of Bethel, sent to Yerubba'al, sovereign of Yasharal, saying, Amos has conspired against you in the midst of the house of Yasharal. The land is not able to endure all his words. For this is what Amos said to Yerubba'al, shall die by the sword, and Yasharal shall certainly be exiled from their own land. And Amaziah said to Amos, go, you seer, flee to the land of Yehudah, and eat bread, and prophesy there. But do not prophesy any more at Beth-al, for it is the sovereign's Kadush place, and it is the house of the rain. And Amos answered and said to Amaziah, I am not a prophet, nor am I the son of a prophet, for I am a herdsman and a grower of sycamore figs. But Yahuwah took me from behind the flock, and Yahuwah said to me, go, prophesy to my people Yasharal. And now hear the word of Yahuwah. You are saying, do not prophesy against Yasharal, and do not fall against the house of Yitzhak. Therefore, said Yahuwah, your woman shall become a whore in the city, and your sons and daughters shall fall by the sword, and your land be divided by a measuring line, and you die in a defiled land, and Yasharal shall certainly be exiled from its land. Amos chapter 8. This is what the Master Yahuwah showed me. And see, a basket of summer fruit. And he said, Amos, what do you see? And I said, a basket of summer fruit. And Yahuwah said to me, the end has come upon my people, Yasharal. No longer do I pardon them. And the songs of the Heikel shall be wailing in that day, declares the Master Yahuwah. Many dead bodies everywhere, thrown into any place. Hush! Hear this, you who are swallowing up the needy, to do away with the poor of the land, saying, when does the new moon pass, so that we sell grain, and the Shabbat, so that we trade our wheat, to make the Apha small and the shekel large, and to falsify the scales by deceit, to buy the poor for silver, and the needy for a pair of sandals, and sell the chaff of the wheat. Yahuwah sworn by the excellency of Yaakub, I shall never forget any of their works. Shall the land not tremble for this? and everyone mourn who dwells in it? And all of it shall swell like the river, heave and subside like the river of Mitzrayim. And it shall be in that day, declares the Master Yahuwah, that I shall cause the sun to go down at noon, and shall darken the earth on the day of brightness, and shall turn your festivals into mourning, and all your songs into lamentations, and bring sackcloth on all loins, and baldness on every head, and shall make it like mourning for an only son in its end, like a day of bitterness. See, days are coming, declares the Master Yahuwah, that I shall send famine in the land, not a famine for bread, nor a thirst for water, but for hearing the words of Yahuwah. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from north to east, and they shall diligently search, seeking the word of Yahuwah, but they shall not find it. In that day the pretty maidens and the strong young men shall faint from thirst, those swearing by the guilt of Shemarun, who say, as your mighty one lives, Dan, and as the way of Beersheba lives, they shall fall and never rise again. Amos, chapter 9. I saw Yahuwah standing by the altar, and he said, smite the column head, so that the thresholds shake, and break them off by the head, all of them, and the last of them I slay with the sword. Not one of them fleeing gets away, and not one fugitive of them escapes. If they dig into the grave, from there my hand does take them, and if they climb up to the Shamayim, from there I bring them down. And if they hide themselves on top of Carmel, from there I shall search, and I take them. And if they hide from before my eyes at the bottom of the sea, from there I shall command the serpent, and it shall bite them. And if they go into captivity before their enemies, from there I shall command the sword, and it shall slay them. And I shall set my eyes on them for evil, and not for good. And the Master Yahuwah of Sabaoth is he who touches the earth so that it melts, and all who dwell in it mourn, and all of it come up like the river, and subside like the river of Mitzrayim, who is building his lofty palace in the Shamayim, and has its foundation on the earth, who is calling for the waters of the sea, and pours them out on the face of the earth. Yahuwah is his name. Are you not like the people of Cush? To me, children of Yasharal, declares Yahuwah. Did I not bring up Yasharal from the land of Mitzrayim, and the Philistine from Kaftor, and Aram from Kir? Look, the eyes of the Master Yahuwah are on the sinful rain, and I shall destroy it from the face of the earth, except that I do not completely destroy the house of Jacob, declares Yahuwah. For look, I am commanding, and I shall sift the house of Yasharal among all nations, as one of sifts with a sieve, yet not a grain falls to the ground. All the sinners of my people are going to die by the sword. Those who are saying, evil does not overtake us, nor meet us. In that day I shall raise up the booth of Dawood, which has fallen down, and I shall repair its breaches, and raise up its ruins, and I shall build it as in the day of old, so that they possess the remnant of Edom. And all the nations on whom my name is called, declares Yahuwah, who does this. Look, the day is coming, declares Yahuwah, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the traders of the grapes, him who sows seed, and the mountains shall drip new wine, and all the hills melt. And I shall turn back the captivity of my people Yasharal, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and drink wine from them, and shall make gardens and eat their fruit. And I shall plant them on their own soil, and not uproot them any more from their own soil I have given them, said Yahuwah your Elohim.